Welcome to DraftCast. We are Brandon and Steven, and we're back at you with another video. This video, we're going to be kind of touching base with players from the NBA, from the NFL, contracts, signings, trades that have happened, possible players that may be in trouble with the different allegations that have been going on around the league. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my cousin, and we're going to dive right into this.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just kind of want to cover a couple different controversial things going on currently in the NFL as well as the NBA. Cover different trades, different rumors that are going around the league, particularly in the NFL. And I think it'd be a good starting point with Aaron Rodgers, Brandon. There's a lot of different things going on with him. Not really sure. Sounding like he may be a Jet, but it's all rumor and innuendo at this point. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, until anything's actually set in stone and that's posted, obviously, I'm sure people have seen the reports. Same as you, same as me. The Jets are right there in the talks, and they supposedly have something set in stone. They're just kind of ironing out the different details that they need to figure out. I'm not sure exactly how a trade goes down in the NFL, but I'm assuming that's what it is. Him going to the Jets isn't a bad move, I don't think. He's not Aaron Rodgers from 5 years ago, but maybe that was all a front. Maybe he was putting that on so he can get the hell out of there. Because it's been a riff over the past couple seasons with that organization, and it's kind of crazy that it's like falling in the Brett Favre same exact way. And if he goes to the Jets, and then he goes to the Minnesota Vikings, I'll actually be mind blown, and it'll be kind of comical because he'll fall in the exact footsteps that Brett Favre did. But what do you think as far as the Jets situation offensively, adding Aaron Rodgers? Do you think that bolsters their? I don't know. They let's just be honest here. They were on a roll for a while there. They looked like a really good team. But do you think that bolsters their chances of being a playoff team, of being at the top of that division? Do you think Aaron Rodgers is enough? Obviously, we have the draft coming up, and we've touched base with different positions they might go with. But do you think Aaron Rodgers adds that step that they needed to take?
I'll tell you, man. I think if Aaron Rodgers goes to the New York Jets, and they got Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, they got Moore, they got Conklin. They have a very good running back. Unfortunately, he got hurt last year in Breece Hall, as well as Michael Carter. So I think that the pieces are there. The defense is smothering. They have a very good defense. Biggest question, if they land Aaron Rodgers, I think the biggest question for the New York Jets is that offensive line. That offensive line they're dealing with some stuff. They drafted Elijah Vera Tucker a couple of years ago, and he's played very well. Unfortunately, Mekhi Becton, the guy who they've wanted to be their star tackle, who in his rookie season was lights out. He was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And injuries have it's a shame. Like injuries, as well as there was reports last year, it's not saying this for certain, these are just reports that I've read, that he showed up to camp a little heavier than usual, which isn't saying much for a guy that graded out to be about 6'7", 360 pounds, I believe. So he was about, he was a little overweight, a little out of shape and whatnot. Goes down with, I believe it was a knee injury, and he missed all of last season, which is unfortunate because he has unbelievable potential. So I think if the Jets, they have the defense, they have the receiving help, they have the running back at Breece Hall. Hopefully, I'm really hoping he comes back healthy because I really like him. It's just, how's that offensive line going to hold up? If that offensive line holds up and they don't trade the house for Aaron Rodgers, they don't trade two first-round picks, like for an aging quarterback. And I love Aaron Rodgers. I truly do. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks, has been for years. And if you give up the house for Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to be able to get a offensive tackle, a guard, Paris Johnson, a Peter Skoronski type of guy potentially with their pick. I think they have the 13th, 14th pick in the draft. So
yeah, something like that.
So yeah, I think it's really about bolstering offensive line. But if they get him, I think they become a potential playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with every point you made there, and I mean, since we're talking about the New York Jets, we might as well stick to the New York Jets and the trade that they made today for a player that you absolutely loved in Baltimore, and that's Chuck Clark. And I can't believe that they gave up a bag of chips and a used condom for him. I mean, it's actually mind blowing. A 2024 seventh rounder. I actually am kind of upset that Pittsburgh Steelers weren't like, you know what? Hey, we'll give you a 2024 six rounder. That's kind of bothersome. And maybe there's more in detail to that as far as Chuck Clark wanted out. Maybe there was issue. I don't know. Something happened to where the Baltimore Ravens were like, if you have a 4-star Hoagie coupon, we'll take it. Um, a lot of people aren't going to get that reference because it's a Pennsylvania thing. I want to just throw that in there. But they literally gave Chuck Clark away, and it's crazy because Chuck Clark was outstanding for Baltimore, and it's really mind blowing, especially having a young safety like Kyle, and you have that mentor in Chuck Clark that can really help him and progress his game, and you just let him walk. Basically, is kind of mind blowing to me. I kind of want to hear your insight on the Chuck Clark trade. I know whenever I sent it to you, screenshotted it and texted it to you, you were kind of pissed off about it. But I want to hear your insight about it because I mean, like I said, it's mind blowing to me, and I think honestly, if the NFL stays true when more of these trades go down, it might become even more surprising some of these other trades that happen.
No, I agree, man. Absolutely. I was very upset when you sent me that because I hadn't read anything about it. And yeah, when you sent me that and they were trading him for a 2024 seventh round pick, I was just, I was mind blown because this is a guy that he really stepped up in our secondary and he played extremely well. And he's not one of the best safety. He's not Minka Fitzpatrick. He's not one of these big groundbreaking safeties. But man, he played his role really well. He could cover, great tackler, big hitter. He really was just a do-it-all guy that did everything really well. And it was really unfortunate to see that he was getting traded for such low compensation. I mean, people were saying, well, he was going to be a cap casualty. He was going to be released anyway. At least the Ravens got something for him. But maybe it was a mutual thing. Maybe Chucky was like, I'd like to go to another team with the potential to start. And, maybe it was a mutual thing. And Baltimore, being stand up was like, okay, you know, pick your team or, maybe seek a trade or something like that. Something behind the scenes. He's not a big name guy. You don't hear really much about, not lower tier guys, but mid tier guys. You don't hear if there's any behind the scenes, like go ahead and seek a trade and
Right.
all that. So
Right.
I wish the best for Chucky, man. I was really upset to see we only got a seventh round pick for 2024. I think we should have at least got a fifth round pick for him in this year's draft. He was a very good player for us, and he will be missed in the secondary.
Absolutely. And that's another thing too, and this is touching base with the Jets. Might as well keep it on the topic. Is they did release Braxton Berrios. I know they saved some cap with him. Do we think that that's anticipation of them getting Aaron Rodgers to free up some cap space to absorb his contract, or do we just think that that was something they were ready to move on from him? Because I think he was just basically a glorified kick returner for them the past couple seasons. I don't think he's really. I think he's been in the slot and played some games here and there, but he never really was like that's our receiver. We're gonna throw him in there.
Man, I was actually kind of getting the wheels turning a little bit, and I was thinking, I believe that Alan Lazard is a free agent this year, and he's one of Aaron Rodgers' closest teammates. And you let a guy like Berrios go, they're trying to trade for Aaron Rodgers. So do you try to package instead of throwing 2 first-round picks or whatever the heck they want? Do you try to get like an Elijah Moore in the trade package and potentially trade him with a pick or two or however they want to play it out?
Right.
They trade him to the Packers. The Packers need a receiver. Elijah Moore's kind of been in and out of the lineup just because guys like Berrios is playing in the slot. Elijah Moore plays in the slot. So maybe Elijah Moore's like, I'm talented. I want to change the scenery. Let me kind of strut my stuff. So maybe he's going to be involved in the trade with the Packers. And maybe the New York Jets, free agency kicks off, Aaron Rodgers is like, I want my guy Alan Lazard here. And they're like, okay, we got you. And they bring in Alan Lazard. Maybe it could be something like that. It's hard to say.
I like that breakdown. Some other big news, and like you said, bringing in people, bringing in Alan Lazard. That's Aaron Rodgers' guy. Um, there's some big news coming out of Minnesota, and like I said, this draft or this video is going to be just basically going over people like the talks, the allegations, the shit going on in the league, and that's the Vikings are planning on. It's a real possibility they're releasing Thaleen. I mean, until Justin Jefferson arrived on the scene, Thaleen was that dude. I mean, he was going off. Uh, does he still have some gas in him? I know he's been hurt a little bit, but it actually shocked me seeing that information of there. It's a real possibility they release Thaleen, considering that you have Justin Jefferson on the other side. How does Thaleen not get open? So, I mean, that could be a possibility of the Jets. They're like, oh wait, we release Barrios, we bring in Thaleen, we bring in Aaron Rodgers. Now we're really talking here.
That is a possibility. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Thielen, he's been a really good player for Minnesota. He's on the decline now at this point in his career, and I think that there's a good possibility he's probably going to try and do like a restructure. But it's hard to say. Are Minnesota, are they going to take the deal of getting him restructured? But I believe I think it was like 20 million or something like that.
It's something heavy. It's something really
It's
heavy.
a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And is he willing to take a pay cut? How are you going to be able to, maybe he wants to go and play for a contender, but there's also arguments that can be made that he already plays for a contender in Minnesota. So,
right.
I mean, he could be potentially one of the guys that gets cut, and the New York Jets could potentially be a landing spot for him. He's in the same division as Packers, and I'm sure Rodgers knows him fairly well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sticking with the Vikings. This is, as you can see on the screen, this is coming strictly off of Roto World, aka now Sports Edge, I believe it's called. Yeah, Sports Edge. Zadarius Smith wants out, which is kind of crazy to me. It's Zadarius, and we actually touched base before we jumped on this and decided to throw a video down. Zadarius, to me, and you even stated this, seems like he's turned into a little bit of a baby and kind of whines everywhere he goes. And I really like Zadarius. I think he's talented as all hell. And this is where we were talking about in the last video that our mock drafts could drastically change because of signings and cuts and this and that, and with Zadarius wanting out, and he says it says that he asked the Vikings to release him. He could go one of them teams that we were talking about, possibly getting that edge, or one of them teams that needs an edge, or like maybe a rotational player. Zadarius Smith would be a huge upgrade at a lot of spots for a lot of teams. What's it say? He had 10 sacks last year, which isn't earth-breaking or ground-shaking that he had 10 sacks. He is turning 31. So, I mean, for an edge rusher, you're getting up there in age. You're not, obviously, he's not that 26-year-old edge rusher anymore. But him winning out, that could change the entire draft aspect of the Vikings. They could go, okay, we might allegedly release Thaleen, and Zadarius Smith wants out. So they could look at filling one of them gaps somewhere in that position. But I still think with our draft, they have to go corner because Patrick Peterson isn't getting any younger. But, I mean, that's just stuff to think about that could change the way the draft falls with new people arising and the cuts and the trades and what have you. What do you think about the whole Zadarius Smith wanting out and asking to be released from the Vikings? And where do you think that he may end up? Any teams that pop into your head that may possibly be one of them teams you're like, oh man, I actually could use someone like Zadarius Smith?
It's Zadarius Smith. He he cut his teeth in Baltimore, and he was always a guy that I really like. I didn't want him to leave, but over time he went to the Packers, and he kind of forced his way out of there, and then he got in talks with the Ravens, and there was, allegedly a verbal agreement that he was going to re-sign and come back to Baltimore. Well, he kind of showed his ass a little bit and was like, JK, I'm going to Minnesota.
Right.
So it seems like he's a little bit of a controversial player at this point. It seems like he's kind of, maybe he's almost too much of a headache, or maybe he's kind of been dealt a bad hand. Maybe he's unfortunately dealt with different circumstances, at different stops along the way. Maybe he didn't feel like he was getting the playing time, a lot of different variables and stuff like that. But, from the outside looking in, it looks like the common denominator here is you, bro, and you are causing issues with these organizations or with your teammates and what have you. So as far as, teams that are willing to sign him, I mean, you got to really look at his track record and say, like, okay, he's very productive. That's, 10 sacks. Yeah, pretty dang good. Very productive. Still a good player. But what's causing these issues? Why do we want him to be a part of our organization? We want to roll the dice with him, potentially bring him in. A team like Tennessee, a team that needs an edge rusher that could really use somebody like Za'Darius Smith. Are you going to roll the dice? Hopefully he comes in and everything works out. It's just hard to say. Maybe he wants to go play for a contender. Maybe go to a team like the Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, be in a rotation with a Von Miller, a Hubbard, so on and so forth.
Yep,
so
absolutely,
it's hard to say.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that, honestly. Moving on to another topic, Matthew Stafford. Reading,
heavy.
Yeah, I mean, sitting here looking at Roto World, this says the Rams GM reports that we're going to rely on Matthew Stafford. He's one of our pillars. But everywhere I've been seeing is they may possibly be looking to trade Matthew Stafford. But, I mean, let's pull Matthew Stafford up, see if there's any new news. No, see, this isn't really saying anything as far as trades on Roto World, but there's a lot of reports all around saying that they might be looking into trading Matthew Stafford. But I mean, let's think back whenever they traded for Matthew Stafford. The Rams and Sean McVay sold the farm for what, a 33-year-old then quarterback, or 34?
Yeah, he was up there, mid-30s, yeah.
Now 35 and was injury-plagued heavy last year. Heck, he only played, 5-6 games last year? Something like that?
He didn't play much. Yeah, he didn't play much. That offensive line was garbage.
I stand corrected. It's right in front of my face. He played 9 games. But, I mean, still, that's it's not very many games. 9 games for your guy it's very underwhelming, to say the least. So with maybe they're trying to see if it, like, this is all speculation. This is all alleged stuff being said around the league and people saying this and that. We all know how that goes. I mean, someone might make a post tomorrow that the Kansas City Chiefs are trading Patrick Mahomes for Derrick Henry. I mean, you never know how it is. But they may be trying to sell high and seeing if someone takes the bait and they try and get some of that draft capital back, because the Rams are cooked with draft capital. I mean, they are absolutely cooked. But maybe that's what they're trying to do. Maybe they're trying to get some of that draft capital back, and they try and sell high, and they're like, well, we're kind of in a rebuild process. I know Aaron Donald was going to retire after they won the Super Bowl and then decided to come back, which kind of looked like a mistake on his end. He's not getting any younger. I know all the reports regarding Jalen Ramsey about possibly trading him. I mean, honestly, let's be real here. The Rams might have taken the biggest step back from winning a Super Bowl to the following season. They might have been the worst bounce back team in the following season after winning a Super Bowl. I mean, they were awful, to say the least. If now, I mean, if this is true that they're trying to shop Matthew Stafford, is there any teams that you can think of that may try and reach for Matthew Stafford, even if it is for a couple thirds or a second and a third or fourth, whatever it may be? Is there any team that really stretches your mind? You're like, I can see Matt Stafford going there. Because me personally, I don't see any teams that really in a position that they're like, I gotta have this guy. I gotta have Matthew Stafford. But maybe you can change my mind on that, because I mean, like I said, right now off the top of my head, I really can't think of anyone. Honestly, you bring in a 35-year-old quarterback, depending on what you trade for him, he's going to have to be your day one starter. And being where Matthew Stafford is, and I like Matthew Stafford, but he's on the downhill slide. And to me, if you're going to trade him for anything, you got to get him for super cheap, and he's a security blanket if your guy goes down. Or he's a mentor for the next couple of years, and then you put your guy that you draft or you have waiting to get plugged in.
Yeah, it's heavy, man. Anytime a quarterback kind of gets his name thrown out there, there's always room for speculation on, well, somebody's going to take a flyer on him, somebody's going to throw a pick at him, there's always different scenarios. I don't, like I said, this is all just rumor and innuendo and everything else, so it's hard to say if this is even has any truth or merit to it. As far as I'm concerned, if I was a team, barring, I guess the only teams that would really make sense to try and make this trade would probably be a Tampa Bay, a Washington, or, maybe during the draft, a team like Carolina, who maybe they miss out on the top 4 quarterbacks coming into the draft this year. So there's always a possibility, but me personally, come off of an injury, a very down season. I mean, the Rams altogether were just snake bitten.
Yeah, absolutely, to say the least, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think when a quarterback's name gets brought up, there's always a possibility that somebody will trade for him. But if I was a team, including some of the teams that I had mentioned before, I don't know if I would necessarily do it. Now, they have Baker Mayfield. He played well for the Rams, but Baker also has a checkered history with, his play on the field. So which Baker Mayfield are you getting? Do you feel comfortable having him take the reins? It's hard to say, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that 100%. Baker Mayfield has been up and down a lot, which I've never was a Baker Mayfield guy, but I mean, I always want to see people succeed, no matter if they're a friend or foe. But as far as, I don't want to sit here and talk about Matthew Stafford like he's a 29-year-old MVP, won 2 Super Bowl quarterback. Don't get me wrong, I like Matthew Stafford, I always have, but I just don't think there's teams that are out there jumping at the bit. They're like, oh, we gotta have Matthew Stafford.
No, I don't think so either. And I think Baker he's a free agent. But what team would you rather, like, what team would you feel more comfortable re-signing with or signing with than a team that you have pretty good success? Plus, you have Sean McVay at the helm. Cooper Kupp's going to be back next year.
Right.
So I think there's a good chance that Baker will kind of be like, I want to stay with the Rams.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. It's like a second chance for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I guess it would be a third chance.
Well, yeah, and that was the thing for me. It was kind of like, okay, Baker, this is your chance in Carolina, and that went poorly. So
yeah, it went about as bad as you possibly could think of. So
yeah, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with that? Matthew Stafford may stay there. Baker Mayfield may re-sign and back up Matthew Stafford, or Stafford could get traded. Baker re-signs. Baker signs somewhere else. It's really hard to say, man. But anytime a quarterback's name gets brought up, there's always There's always speculation.
Absolutely, absolutely, couldn't agree more. And staying on the top of the quarterbacks, let's dive a little bit into your team with Lamar Jackson.
Oh
Uh,
God.
the most recent thing, and once again, this is speculation. This is alleged information. This isn't like I have Ian Rappaport's phone number and he's feeding me this information. But he there's a status. I don't know if it's a status, a post, some release of ESPN or some sort of that nature that stated that the Ravens are very happy with Huntley, and they're confident in Huntley. He's young, he's talented, but I mean at this point with Lamar Jackson, obviously nobody knows what is going to happen as far as no one has showed interest in wanting to pursue him, and also in the same note, if no one does show interest, they have the tag on him, so it will be a Raven. So, do you try and you obviously you what is this? What is his tag? 32.4 million is what it is. 32.4 million. You're obviously gonna have to pay him, so you want your best guy out there. And I feel that is Lamar, but it boils down to is Lamar gonna play, and that's kind of like I mean you know more about Lamar. You've watched Lamar a lot more than me, but I kind of want your insight on where the Ravens should go, what their thoughts are. If Lamar does want to play Week 1, does he play Week 1? Or if he doesn't want to play, do you sit him the rest of the season? Do you try to trade him? I want to hear your insight on Lamar Jackson a little bit.
I got a bad feeling that the Lamar Jackson situation is going to get worse before it gets better. First and foremost, as a Ravens fan, I've been a Lamar Jackson fan for years. He's been my favorite player in the league. I'm not really going to get into that too much. I just wanted to, just kind of state the facts. I've supported him. A lot of the criticism of him not being a good quarterback, more of a running back than a quarterback. Can't really disagree with that. However, he's been huge for us. We kind of live and die by him, unfortunately. But with his contract the way it's set up, with the non-exclusive tag and everything, and teams aren't putting in offers. So is it going to be a situation like last year where Lamar's kind of like, well, I don't have any guaranteed years beyond this one. This is basically a one-year deal. I'm not playing. Then what happens there? Do the Ravens choose to fine him for not showing up for off-season workouts? Does the team take a shot and be like, okay, we're going to offer you X amount, and the Ravens have the option to match. The Ravens have the option to not match and then get the 2 first-rounders since he's on the non-exclusive franchise tag. It's been a tumultuous offseason. I would have loved to have a deal get worked out. I'm hoping that this kind of resets Lamar's mind and it's kind of like, okay, maybe I'm not worth what I think I am.
Absolutely,
And,
yes. I think that would be best case scenario.
And that is not a knock on Lamar necessarily. It's just if I think this much of myself, but nobody else does, well, apparently I'm not on that Patrick Mahomes deal. And the Ravens have offered him last offseason offered him a very good deal, and he had turned it down. And just the quarterback market right now is broken. And
Yes.
I'm hoping everything gets worked out one way or another. But if the Ravens do decide to part ways with him, they've got to try to find some way of getting some sort of compensation for him, because he does have the potential to be a superstar quarterback. It's just injuries are piling up, and he kind of quit on us last year, I feel.
I agree with that. 100%. And I mean, I don't want this video to drag out and be in over an hour, and like our draft videos, that's a little bit different. But I agree with that with the with the Lamar Jackson situation. And actually, let's move on to another topic, which is kind of funny because we mentioned his name yesterday when we were talking about the Jaguars draft. And you actually mentioned it with Shaquille Griffin and him coming back and this and that. Well, I actually have different news. The Jacksonville Jaguars released him.
Hmm.
So I I I want to say, and maybe I'm being biased, I would really like for Pittsburgh to take a look at it. Maybe I'm reaching. Like I said yesterday, William Jackson, who knows if the man's ever going to play a snap again in his life. But, I mean, I'm not saying Shaquille Griffin is Richard Sherman or he's not Sauce Gardner, but he is a 27-year-old cornerback that has showed promise. He plays well. And I mean, Pittsburgh's losing a lot of corners, and if you can get him at the right price, I feel that that could be a very possible, like a possible scheme for him to fit into. I mean, when you have Minka Fitzpatrick over top you, you can do a lot and not be the best corner in the league. But with that being said, we actually touched on this yesterday as well. Keenan Allen. This report states that the Chargers restructured the contracts of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, which is huge. It's awesome. I actually love Keenan. I can't see Keenan Allen anywhere but in a Chargers jersey. I don't know about you, but that's just me. I absolutely
Hmm.
love that Keenan Allen is they restructured it, and I like those weapons to keep him with Herbert. You keep that chemistry there, but Keenan Allen's one of them guys that he does it all. He's gonna do the hard stuff. He's gonna go over the middle. He's gonna do the stuff that nobody else wants to do, and he's sure handed. Now injuries have been getting to him more recently. How old is 31? Keenan Allen, 31 years old. So I still think he has some tread on the tire still, and I honestly feel that that's the best fit for Keenan Allen is to stay in a program that he's familiar with, stay with a quarterback he's familiar with, and you keep that receiving core and that quarterback duo together with those two, with Herbert dishing the ball out to them. Um, like I said, I don't want this video to be super long winded. We touch base on a lot of things. We do want to touch base on some of the allegations with, and I'm gonna let you take over it. Um, the let's just nip it in the butt and start with a Joe Mixon uh, thing. As far as Joe Mixon, there's been a lot of talks of. I know when the first report came out and said that he did the shooting allegedly, and what was it? 11 shots, one shot hit a young child in the leg, teenager or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was the initial report. Yeah, something similar to that.
And then I know we like to do a little bit of research before we start talking about something. We don't want to just come in and just fire out all these BS uh, accusations and someone come in and be like, "Oh, they did. You just said this." That's what we're trying to do. I know you did some did some research on it, and I want you to kind of touch base and what you found and what you see because we both see the same thing. But I want to pass it off to you and let you talk a little bit about it regarding what you found and what's going on with that whole situation.
Well, reports that I had read, once again, this is all rumor and innuendo allegations. Um, from what I've read, he allegedly wasn't the shooter in the instance. No arrests were made. Um, so I don't think this is going to be much of an issue going forward. Joe Mixon still has the possibility of being a cap casualty just because of his high cap number and stuff. He could still choose to restructure in terms of football, but regarding this, I think as of right now, this is going to be a non-issue going forward.
Yeah, and that's like we said. Starting out when we first seen it the other day, me and you were like, "Whoa, what is happening?" This is kind of
Hmm.
crazy. If this is something that actually happened, Joe Mixon might be done in the league. I mean, you shoot a child, but like you said, there's a lot of reports saying that he wasn't even home now. He's not even a suspect in the situation, which hopefully that is the case. I'd hate to see someone like Joe Mixon just something so stupid he gets tossed out of the league and ruins his career because of it. Um, touching on another Cincinnati Bengals player, since we're already there, there's been reports and once again speculation. Whether it's true, don't know. We're just speaking on it because it's stuff that's floating around the internet, and that's Jamar Chase's, what was it, baby mom, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, baby
Yeah.
mom, saying that she's going to ruin his career. She's going to post the videos of him beating her, stuff like that. And to me, it's sad to see stuff like this come out. To me, something had to have happened to trigger this all of a sudden. Maybe she's jealous of the money he's making. Maybe he's not giving her enough money. I don't know their relationship status. We don't even know if this is true. Like I said, this is all speculation. This is all alleged stuff floating around the internet that has been seen by thousands, and we're just speaking on it. I love Jamar Chase. I think he's an absolute animal. I know there's talks about him using slander towards his own daughter and beating on his girlfriend or baby mom, whatever you want to call her. And she said she has videos and they need to get him out the league and this and that. I don't condone any of that whatsoever. But at the same time, why is this becoming a big deal? Was there an argument that you didn't like and now you want to all of a sudden drag him down with you? Which happens a lot in this world. Someone does gets something that done to them. Something happens to them that they don't like, so they drag everyone else down around them. Like I said, there's no charges anywhere saying that Jamar Chase did this or anything like that. But we just kind of want to touch base on it because it's wild to see this kind of thing. And I know these players get more of a spotlight. If it was some Joe Schmo that did this, it'd be a lot different. And I want to pass it off to you and let you kind of touch base on what your thoughts with the Jamar Chase situation is.
I'm not going to really lie. Other than the initial reports and whatnot that I've read, which were pretty vague. It was mainly just the accusations and saying that this woman had videos of him and all this stuff, and she was going to expose him and all this, and really nothing concrete has happened. Hopefully, this is just a little blip on the radar, and it just kind of goes away. Hopefully, none of these allegations are true. Once again, I'm not really familiar with what all was entailed.
Right.
So hopefully, none of this is true, and we can just go about our day.
Yeah, and like I said, and I stated earlier, it's just one of them things of all this stuff's popping up out of nowhere, and it's kind of crazy. And that's going to bring us into our next topic of Ja Morant. Man, Ja Morant, and like I know we talk about football 24/7, but we want to touch, like we said, we want to touch base on a little bit of everything, and this is kind of what this video is for: is touching base on just players and signings and free agency and football, basketball, whatever. Ja Morant has the world by the balls, and I know he got that 2-game suspension. I think they said that it may be extended. I'm not sure. We can actually look it up real quick. But Ja Morant, let's see if there's any extra info on this. Be away from the Grizzlies for 4 games. Okay, so he's away for 4 games. I know there was a thing floating around saying that he was away from the team indefinitely, away from Nike indefinitely, and away from the NBA indefinitely. I do believe that was one of them posts that someone put out just trying to seek attention. There was no truth behind that. And I know that they said that there isn't going to be any charges pressed, I believe, because where he was filming, they are an open carry state. But it is a law that you can't possess a firearm under the influence, which he was. And I'm reading this from the Sports Edge. But a player of Ja Morant, I think he signed a $300 million contract, I believe, something like that. A player of Ja Morant, kids look up to this guy. I mean, he's a young talented, phenomenal, jump out the gym basketball player. He's ridiculous. He can do everything you want him to. He can do, I mean, and he can shoot, he can dunk. I mean, he'll jump from the free throw line and dunk on your whole team. The dude's incredible. But for you to have as an idol, as a public figure, you're flexing on Instagram with a gun. To me, that's pure stupidity. I'm sure I'm going to get some hate, and if people watch this, they're gonna, oh, you don't get it. Well, maybe I don't, but I just know that just being in my situation, I'm not gonna go flex a gun in a live video, especially flexing a gun in front of thousands and millions of people that follow me on Instagram and being the public figure that I am. I mean, I know we've spoke on this numerous of times when this all got released, and it's mind blowing to me that you put yourself in that situation to now you're putting your future in jeopardy, and it's kind of astonishing that some of these players, I mean, look at all the players throughout the years, Martavius Bryant, Plexico Burrs. I mean, the list goes on forever, right? That you put yourself in the jeopardy of ruining your career over something so stupid. And I want you to kind of touch base on your thoughts of the whole flashing a gun and your thoughts on these young players nowadays that do this. And I don't know if it's to seek attention, if they're trying to live a lifestyle that they didn't get to live when they were younger, or what may it be?
Man, it is sad. I think that first off, charges were not to be filed, so that is good in his case, and um, it's a good way of him to go back to the NBA and be like, look, like I'm not getting charged. It's not a PR nightmare. You know, it was a my bad, I messed up type of deal, blah blah blah, and work things out. But yeah, I mean, it's all a perception thing, man. When you're on that pedestal of being somebody who is looked up to by hundreds or thousands of kids, of young adults, men and women both, it's really tough for those kids to see like their Michael Jordan, their God basically, going and doing something like that, and not being able to play and potentially throwing away their career. Like you've named a couple of guys that have done that over the years, and it's so hard to comprehend. It's why throw away millions of dollars? Why not go ahead and get that Uber, instead of driving and getting a DUI or getting in a collision and things like that. There's so many just questionable. People make mistakes, and that's
absolutely everyone's human. Everyone is human.
Yes, we cannot stress that enough. We've all made mistakes. I know I have. So yeah, it's difficult to really speculate on. Hopefully that this is the end of this side of him, and he can continue to play basketball, continue to play well, keep his nose clean, and just be the best version of Ja Morant that he can be.
Absolutely. Maybe it gives him a little bit of an eye opener. Like, man, I really messed up. Like, that was a boneheaded move. That was stupid on my end. I do have a ton of kids that I'm their idol. They look up to me, and hopefully it's an eye opener. And like you said it best, he can be the best version of Ja Morant he possibly can be, because other than this little hiccup that he had, whether you want to call it little, whether you want to call it big, it's honestly it's mind blowing, because you haven't really seen any of this from Ja Morant before. You never seen him in trouble, nothing like that. So it's kind of shocking, and I know a lot of people are calling for him to be taken out of the league. He should be banned and this and that. But without charges being pressed and whatnot, I do believe in second chances, and I think that everyone has a fair shake at it. And people do mess up, like you said. I've made a ton of mistakes in my life. Granted, I don't have millions of dollars to back me on it, but I have made mistakes, and I learned from them, and hopefully Ja can learn from this. Now, the other big thing before we close this video out, I wanted to touch base on, and actually it's something that you sent me this morning, and I would like for you to speak on it, is another actually mind-blowing thing that whenever I woke up and seen this, I was like, wait, what? this can't be real. So I started looking, and I'm gonna turn it over to you and let you kind of touch base on it and run through what you sent me.
Yeah, I've seen some thing pop across my news feed about Sean Kemp. He was these are once again allegations. It's all rumor and innuendo. It's nothing concrete. But there was allegedly a drive-by shooting that he may or may not have played some part in, and he was arrested. No charges were filed. It wasn't necessarily. He was brought in probably for questioning, and it wasn't necessarily a big deal. So I think that that's going to be another one of those where kind of heard the end of it. Hopefully everything is all right with Sean Kemp. Hopefully he didn't participate in anything like this. But once again, this is all allegations. This is all just
Rumors.
Stuff on the internet. You never know. You never know what's factual, what's not. He could have been in Dubai for all we know. So just little things bouncing around on the internet. Just wanted to point it out. But these are all, everything we mentioned are allegations and rumor and innuendo.
And it's just crazy with the things that have been happening around, especially the world today in general. And you just see these different posts that pop up, and you can't believe everything you see or everything you read. But I mean, the John Morant thing, it's a blatant video. And it's been like, it just rapid fire. I mean, it went from John Morant to Joe Mixon to Jamar Chase to Sean Kemp. I mean, it's mind blowing that this is just rapid firing off of these players, and for their sake, I hope that none of it's true. I hope that it all goes by the wayside and it's just a rumor mill. And honestly, I hope that we get back to just sports. I don't want to see and put negative energy out there of, oh well, the report came out today that John Morant will never play in the NBA again. Oh, the report came out today that Joe Mixon's going to jail. I don't ever want to be on this DraftCast speaking on that, because these are players that I enjoy watching, and I know you enjoy watching. May not be our favorite teams, but we thoroughly enjoy watching these players, and honestly, I don't want to ever see anyone, whether they're famous or not, get in that type of trouble over something so stupid that could have been prevented if they just use common sense. So with that being said, I don't know if there's anything, closing remarks that you want to say, if you want to add in there. And me personally, like I said, I wanted to do a short little video. I mean, it ended up being almost an hour. Go figure, because once we get rolling, it is what it is. But I think we covered a lot of different areas, especially with the signings and the trading and the different movement talks like Aaron Rodgers, so on and so forth. But this is something that you guys, the audience, can look forward to. It's not just going to be a draft. It's going to be things like this. It's going to be pop-up videos. We might have a video that's 10 minutes long talking about something that just happened. We might jump on, fire a video together, and launch it for you guys to see, so you guys can catch the update and give a little bit of a breakdown of it. But with that being said, is there any closing thoughts or concerns you want to put out there?
No, we're just excited, looking for the draft, looking forward to the draft, looking forward to free agency, and uploading more videos for everyone to watch. And like I said in a couple of our previous videos, we really want to hear people's feedback and get everybody's opinions, and just touch base on their teams and where they think people are going, and different scenarios they'd like to see play out. So we're just looking to hear from you guys.
Well, in closing, we greatly appreciate everyone that has looked into this. This morning, I believe we went from 5 or 6 subscribers, and we're up to 13, and each video has like 20 views on it or something like that. So we're getting some traction. People are checking it out. Not much feedback yet in the comment section, but that's okay. We'd love to have the feedback, and that'll come in time. I'm not worried about that by any means. But with that all being said, we are BS Draftcast, and we just BS about sports. Thanks for tuning in.